Hi everyone, this is Janae Marie Kroc, and thank you for coming to my channel today. We're going to talk, we're actually going to answer questions people have asked on Instagram. And so I'm just going to scroll through and read people's questions and provide a quick answer. Let's see, and I apologize if I slaughter anyone's Instagram handles here, but let's see, Catchlies, I'm sure I slaughtered that one. Do you ever plan to transition completely via surgery? Of course, I get asked this quite often, and actually, I'm assuming she's referring to gender confirmation surgery, or sometimes what's referred to as bottom surgery, and the answer is yes, I do. I don't have a set date or anything yet, but it is something I'm sure at some point I will undergo, just because that's what feels right for me. Still Alive and Still Laughing asks, worst setback you ever had in powerlifting? For people who followed my powerlifting career, they know I had a ton of injuries. I had 3 surgeries. I tore off both biceps, had those reattached. My left tricep had that reattached. A number of other injuries, including I tore my, right quad, left calf, left pec, left lat, separated my right AC joint. I had a ton of them, but which one would be the toughest to come back from? And that would include the cancer. I had testicular cancer back in 2004, and oh boy, that's a tough one. There's so many. I mean, I never doubted my ability to come back from any of them, to be honest. I saw them all as a bump in the road and just a temporary setback. The quad tear was a pretty severe one, and that one really motivated me because after it happened, I was kind of in the prime of my career. And a lot of people wrote me off after that. So there was a lot of talk that my career was over, I didn't know what I was doing, I got hurt too much, and that I would never be able to come back. Long story short, I tore my quad in January of 2008, and that summer in July, I squatted a PR 1,014. So within 6 months, I came back and squatted more than I ever had. And a big part of that motivation was the fact that so many people wrote me off and said I wouldn't be able to do it. So I think that one definitely sticks out for me. Ari Stanley asks, how did you and your girlfriend meet? Actually, Alivia and I met at the film festival in Toronto, the Hot Docs Film Festival, when Transformer was screening there. And we actually had a mutual friend who was a firefighter but was also a powerlifter. I knew her through powerlifting, that we were sponsored together, and Olivia knew her through firefighting, and she came to see the documentary and waited around afterwards, talked to me, and mentioned our mutual friend, and so I always kind of remembered her. And then months later, we kind of talked to each other through, of course, DMs on Instagram, and that's how we started dating. Z Devinator asks, how are you two so cute? I'll just say thank you. Glad there's so many good questions, and I want to thank everybody that asked a question and posted a question. What inspired your aha moment to be open about your life? And this is from Tanya Cheney. Well, Tanya, actually what happened, I mean, I was already, so to give the whole story about me being out and getting into activism in a nutshell, I was already out, I had been out to my family, friends, and my children for a long time, probably about a decade. And I was also out to some of my sponsors in powerlifting, a lot of the people I competed with, but I was not completely out, and the only reason I wasn't was because I was trying to protect my sons. I was worried that they might face discrimination and prejudice, like at school, maybe in sports, have trouble with their peers or their friends' parents, things like that. But I was outed publicly in 2015 by a YouTube vlogger, and at that point, I basically said, if my story is going to be told, I want to be sure that I'm the one who tells it. So, and then that was an opportunity to get into activism, which I'd been wanting to do. And fortunately, everything turned out well, and it ended up being like a silver lining to what appeared to be a dark cloud initially. So that's how I got embraced, fully coming out, and really got involved in activism and stuff like that. I am Dukso asks, do you think you'd make a good She-Hulk? Absolutely. Just need to work on the green part. Anat Opal asks, what's the smallest thing in life that you really love? I would say my 10-pound hairless cat, Dawkins, although he terrorizes a lot of my friends. So I'm probably one of the only people that really loves him. Kachitos PR asks, what do you see yourself doing for the transgender community in the next 10 years? I really hope to help inspire people like me, young trans people or people that, identify as non-binary or gender fluid, I hope they gather strength and inspiration from my story and me being out and fully open, because I know when I was young and growing up, I felt all alone, and that was really, really hard, and I felt like there was something wrong with me, and I didn't think there was anyone else in the world like me. So I really hope being open and honest will help those people in their own journeys. And I really hope to focus a lot on educating the rest of the world that doesn't understand, because I think that has a huge impact on our community. So inspiration and education are my two biggest goals. But I just want people to really understand that trans people are like everyone else. Some of us are amazing, nice people. Some of us are mean people. Some of us are very successful, and some of us aren't. But I think the message that gets lost and what people don't understand, there's so many myths and so much misinformation about trans people. The fact of the matter is, we're people like everyone else. And, we come from all walks of life, all different backgrounds, all different experiences. And, really when it boils down to it, we're humans too, and we're just like everyone else, other than we have issues with our gender identity. Sherry Blue 87 asks, she also wanted to know about how Alivia and I met, which I've already talked about, in that whole story. But she also, the second part of her question was, you don't seem to eat much for the amount of physical activity that you seem to do. Well, Sherry, you're totally incorrect. I actually eat a lot. I out-eat almost everyone I know. And fortunately, my physical activity, my genetics, and the amount of muscle I carry helps me stay lean in spite of all that. But I do eat really clean, to be honest. I'd say 90% of the meals I eat are pretty healthy, but when I go out to eat, I kind of have what I want. It's uncommon to have a cheeseburger, pizza once every couple weeks. I do like ice cream. So I do have those things, but just that's a smaller part of my diet and not a mainstay, obviously. What is your go-to eyeliner? Says Celine Dion was taken. I really, really I've tried a million eyeliners, and my favorite is the Stay All Day Waterproof Liner by Stila. That's the one I always use when everybody gets asked about the cat eyes. That's my go-to. But I also really like the Kat Von D as well. That's another really good one. Okay, so Coach Maria Lara asks, how have you remained so positive? She has some other things too, but I'll focus on that part. To be honest, it's not always easy. There are some, I have rough days like everybody else, and sometimes all the hate and negativity does, weigh on you. But for the most part, honestly, it's a choice. I choose to be positive. I think all of us, there's tons of negativity in the world, but there's also lots of positivity and love. And I think we can choose which ones we want to see and which ones we want to focus on. And I choose to focus on the positive. I find that's much healthier and makes me a lot happier, and helps me, work towards my goals, achieve all the things I want to, and find a place of peace and happiness. Where if you choose to focus on the negative all the time, it's going to be very difficult to feel good and be positive and be happy. You're going to be drowned in those negative feelings. So really, like I said, a lot of it boils down to choice and just choosing to try to see the good in everything. And even in the hateful stuff, sometimes you just got to realize too, think about where those people come from. They've probably never been exposed to trans people. They have very different experiences. Maybe they've been taught by their parents or by their church or by whoever that it's a very negative thing. So I try to keep those things in mind when I respond to these people or I interact with them, and always try to approach everything from a positive viewpoint. But yeah, not always easy, but definitely a choice, and I think it's definitely something we all can do.